It's Jen from Kiss of Metal here, and I'm making a video on sand casting gemstones in a channel setting. So I had a go at this the other day and it was just a bit of a rough run, but here we go, that was the results. So it's quite chunky and I used 3mm gemstones on this one. They're just cubic zirconia because they can handle the heat, and you can see that they're a bit spread out, so they've cast, but there's a little bit of silver in between each of the stones. My plan is hopefully to create a channel setting where you don't get that silver in between. You've just got that solid row of stones, so it looks all in unison. That's the plan anyway. I'm going to be using, of course, a flask. There's two different types that you can get. You can get the ones where they've got the hole on the side, and you can also get these where the hole is just top and bottom. With most rings, what you would do is create the impression, and it would be a top and a bottom of the ring flat, and then you turn it on its side and you pour the silver in and it runs all the way around that ring design. However, with this, we are going to be creating a sand cast where you impress the bottom half of the ring and then the top half of the ring like this, so that you can lay all those stones out on the bottom of that mold that you're creating. So to do this, I'm going to use the flask where it's just got the gaps either side. Online, I found a site that creates these acrylic tubes, and what I've done is made sure that I've got two, one that the outside diameter is exactly the same as the inside diameter of the other one. So with this one, it's 18mm on the inside, and this one is 18mm on the outside. One of them is going to create the middle part of the ring so that the silver doesn't just pour and fill the hole where your finger's supposed to go. And then the other one is going to hold the ring so that you can create the impression. Both of these tubes started off this length. When you're using your flask, you're going to need to cut it so that it fits inside your flask so you can create an impression. So once you've got your tubes, saw one of the bits off, and it's got to be the smaller bit, the bit that's the bit that's total diameter matches the inside diameter of the bigger tube. I hope that makes sense, okay? So I am using a brass ring that is made out of 3mm wide D wire, and I think it's 2mm thick. So I've just created a simple ring, and I have made sure it's exactly 18mm on the inside diameter, purposely so that it can fit on top of this one. That is going to make the impression in the sand. Then the other one, what you're going to do is pack it with sand, push that sand out. I've made a little disc that's exactly the same size as the inside of this one, so that you can push the sand down and then push it out, and it creates a solid cylinder of sand which will fit beautifully on the inside of this ring. Okay, hopefully that makes sense as the video goes on and you're watching, and hopefully it works as well. So let's give it a go. So again, here's the two tubes that you're going to need. The smaller one has got a total diameter of 18mm, and then the larger one has got an inside diameter of 18mm. So what I've done on the metal here is created a groove running not all the way around the ring, like in the central part. I've just done it so that it's less than half of the ring. And the reason I put this groove in here is so you can see all the stones all in one row, and you haven't got that bit of silver that's gone in between the stones. That's my theory anyway, to kind of create that channel setting look. Again, this is the flask that I'm going to use, and you want to make sure that tube is short enough that it will fit within the flask. And just out of some copper, I've created a little disc which will fit inside the larger of the tubes. And this is so that when you compact the sand down, you can just use this to push it all down and then push it out of the tube as well. I'm going to use this paw balm to basically just dip the top of the gemstone, just dip it in a teeny weeny bit of this and it will just help it stick to the sand and hold it in place. You could probably use Vaseline as well, that would probably work just as well. And I've got a ton of these little 1.5mm cubic zirconia white stones. And that's pretty much it, that's the kit, that's everything that I need to do this, so let's get started. Just like any sand casting, just chop up that sand, get it nice and fine. So on the first half, normally when I do a sand casting, I would hammer this down to get it as flat as possible on the other side, but actually what I want to do here is to not completely compress it down. So I'm just going to use my hands and not use a hammer for this half. The reason being, you'll see in a minute, that you just want to keep that sand a little bit softer on this side. I just use a little bit of talcum powder to make sure the ring and all the things that I'm pressing into the sand don't stick. Now this is why you don't want to compress all that sand down really firmly, because you're going to push this into it. So make sure that groove is faced down, so you're going to be pushing that groove into the sand. So I've just lined up my finger and thumb there so I know they're equally on the sides, and then push that tube in so that it's halfway in. You might have to keep checking it from the side, but as soon as you've got half of it in, that's all you need. The other half is going to go in the top half. I'm just pushing down any sand that's kind of lifted when I've done that. Okay, put the other half on, and now to fill that bit up with sand as well. Okay, so filling up the top half with sand. This time I am going to hammer this down to make sure it's nice and firm. the camera's shaking around a lot because I attached the camera to the same desk. I won't do that next time. Okay, so this is the larger tube now, so you just want to sprinkle in some sand. I've kind of filled it most of the way up. And then with that little copper disc, just pop it in, find anything you can that's like a little bit broad that you can push that down with. So just compress it all the way down to make sure that sand is really dense. There you go, so it all pushes to the bottom. Lovely, and now just lift the tube up a little bit and keep pushing and it will just come out the other end. And that then gives you that sort of core middle section, and later I'll chop that down a little bit more just so it's a bit narrower and definitely fits inside that slot, but for now I'll just pop that to the side. So now for the air vents, and I'm going to do 4 air vents on this one. So I'm going to do one either side of the ring like this. and then do 2 more on the other side like this. So because of where the air vents are, I don't want to set these stones all the way up until that halfway point, because where probably a little bit of silver is going to pour into those air vents, it will ruin the stone settings there. So just make sure you don't place the stones all the way up to the top of those sides. Just allow yourself a little gap just underneath, which is why I didn't create that groove all the way around the half of the ring. I just did it slightly less than half, if that makes sense. And the final hole to make is, of course, the funnel that's at the top, where you're going to be pouring the silver into. Now it's time to put the stones into the mould and get them all aligned nicely in a straight line. You only need a teeny weeny bit of the balm or Vaseline, whatever you're using, and it's literally as simple as just dipping the flat of the stone into a tiny weeny bit of that balm, and then it will stick to the sand when you put it in. And what you're aiming for is that little ridge that's created in the sand. You want to stick the top of the stone down onto that ridge as neatly as possible, and are trying to be as even as possible so that the stone isn't like tilted off to one side. Try and make it nice and flat, and it takes time, so do take your time doing this. Annoyingly, this the camera angle has my head right in the way, but in a minute you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer. and then just pop the central part in. It should fit absolutely perfectly in the middle there. Then put the top of the flask onto the bottom bit. Make sure it is lined up nice and straight, because you don't want to do any like weird twisting as you're putting the top of the flask on. So yeah, just directly put it straight down and line it up. And here it is after the cleanup. It's a little bit rustic and some of the stones are a little bit wobbly, a bit sort of like higgledy-piggledy. But personally, I really like the rustic look, so I don't mind that. But I think with practice and maybe like working on that groove a little bit more, I might be able to create a better channel and make them a little bit more in line with each other. But overall, I was really chuffed with the end results there. I managed to do it with the smaller stones, which I'm quite pleased with. And I did another one as well, this one at a later date with the blue stones, so I had another go at it. It was slightly better, the stones were more lined up. I then had another go at it. I decided that I wanted to revamp my wedding and engagement ring. So I did this with 9-carat gold, and honestly it's the best time that I've done it. They are the straightest that I've managed to do it, so it is perfectly true what they say, practice does make perfect. So yeah, nice and straight, still got that rustic vibe to it, which I personally really love. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but here it is. Here's the final ring that I made for myself. I was fed up with my rings being too wide when I put them on, because I've got the knobbly knuckles, so I created a ring that had a little hinge in it and a little fastening there, so that when I've got it on, it doesn't swing around all the time. But there we go, that was me using the channel setting. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it might have given you some ideas to have a play around with yourself. But thanks for watching along anyway. I really appreciate all of your comments, likes, and of course you beautiful subscribers. So thank you so much.